Yeah, I'll be right there, babe. Just even that one's a funny one. Yeah, I'm on my way. I've just left. That's a guaranteed one that'll get a giggle. I'm just in the car on the way now. Mine and Bruno. Welcome to Lattes and Moisey, where we keep it natty and pracky and talk about the subjects that matter.
Are white lies or the big lies the lies that hold you back the most in life?
On the subject of truth, I have it tattooed on my arm in Latin, credite amore vere decenti, which means believe in love, speaking the truth.
Yeah.
And at the time I had that tattooed on me,
yeah.
I just thought that's a beautiful saying. I like that so much. It was the only thing, I've got it here, but it's the first words that I had tattooed on me.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And like my third tattoo.
Never heard that before. Believe in love, speaking the truth. Believe in love, speaking the truth. So you should be believing in love when you speak the truth. And that makes sense because when you speak the truth, there is a fear attached to it. And the fear is what is going to happen when I speak the truth. So how can you push through that fear, whatever that is, negative judgment, offending people? It's through being courageous enough to overcome that fear and speak your truth. So in order for you to be courageous enough to speak the truth and get through that fear, you need to believe in the fact that it's the right thing to do. That's where the piece of love comes in, I guess. Mm-hmm. That you were believing in love, the love being that ultimately it's for the net positive, not just for you, but for the other people or society and the universe in general. Mm-hmm. So when you speak your truth in love, it will get you through the fear via courage.
Yes. You can't force love, you can only present it. I've definitely tried to force that before.
How?
Just in previous relationships, or imagine it with a dog, for example, or a pet. And you just want to love that pet so fucking hard. You must have been in a
get
situation.
That cute aggression sometimes.
Dude, yes, when you're just like, oh, I just want to squeeze your face off. Mm-hmm. That's forcing love. And if you hold on to something, like especially like a pet, like I tried to pick up my friend's cat yesterday, and it immediately was like, and then tries to like get out, and I was like, okay, too early, didn't earn it. Mm-hmm. I didn't present that love, I forced it.
Yeah, but cats are tricky when it comes to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But then so are people. You can't force yourself on someone else either.
You absolutely
can. You just have to, and this is the presenting part of it. Again, if you're to be your truth, you have to present who you are. Meaning it has to be no facade, no persona, mask off. Mm-hmm. Otherwise it's fake.
Well, you see that a lot in the beginning of relationships where people play out a persona just to get the other person, to draw them in. And then they get into a relationship, and then all of a sudden all of that goes away because ultimately we'll all revert back to our authentic self in the day-to-day interactions. And then, all these fights happen because like where'd that person go that I met in the beginning, the first few months? That was a very different version, right?
Yeah.
But that's because if you present yourself in that way just to get that person, you're getting that person based on what that person is seeing. She's not picking you based on your authentic self. She's picking you based on whatever you present.
Based on the acted version, yeah.
And it's such a hard thing to do. I don't know how people do that. Like when you go for a coffee or when you meet them for the first few times, do you just tell them like stuff that they want to hear? How does that even work, man? How do you play that role? It's a weird thing. Like it's very deceptive, and it's also very insecure. I think it's very shameful to do that. Just means you're not respecting yourself enough. You yourself are not good enough. So you play in that role.
Most people aren't that confident though, mate. Most people don't have enough. Again, like you said, it comes down to insecurity. Yeah, that's true. Most people are not at the level of confidence where they can just sit down and totally and utterly be themselves, or full honesty.
The problem is with that, they will go and repeat the same pattern and the same level of pain over and over and over again, rather than learning how to break through that shell and present yourself organically and naturally from the beginning, so you can then avoid this repeating pattern again. So what pain are you choosing? What you're choosing is a more long-term pain, rather than working on yourself to the extent where you're realizing. I think once you realize that this pattern plays itself out in your life over and over and over again, you only have one choice. The one choice is, why am I not presenting myself authentically? And just asking that question and going soul seeking is going to increase your confidence, because now you're aware. Now you're honest, and now you are stuck with that question. You can't avoid that anymore.
Unless you're particularly emotionally mature from a young age, I feel like in your 20s, most of us are probably having some form of a dialogue with the world and getting our sense of ourself back from our interactions in the world.
Right.
And it gets to a point when you're a little bit older, 30, 40 or whatever, where you have a bit of a paradigm shift and you actually realize that you need to work on yourself rather than the reactions from other people about how they feel about you. You realize that the work is to be done within rather than from elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just a part of growing up.
But a lot of people don't grow up. I know people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s that haven't changed or transformed in that regard. They keep repeating this eternally, not realizing that the issue is to be found within and not through that partner, and then the second one, then the third one, the fourth one. It's always that one, and then that one, and then that one, and then they did this, they did this. Bro, there's a pattern. Don't you think that maybe this is you and not partner number 78? Like something's going on, right? But people love to avoid that question, because that question means you have to be brutally honest with yourself, and you have to work on yourself, right? So, and then the thing with that is, if you speak to most people, they'll be like, yeah, I'm into self-improvement. I'm into spirituality, all of that. They even go to church. They might have read a couple of books. What are all these books? Power of Law and all that stuff that everyone... Power of Now, that type of stuff. Everyone's reading it, right? But that means nothing when you're going about your day to day, and something is happening where you have the alternative of using a white lie or being honest. It's there where you actually work on yourself. That's the part where you transform, is by doing the right thing, by deciding and doing the right thing, not just the reading of it, and not just one time. You have to keep doing that over time for a long time, which means you have to monitor yourself, which means you have to be self-aware, which means you have to be honest with yourself. That's why it's so difficult. Like, it's simple, but it's not easy, because it's constant. And it's constantly like, I want to avoid the situation, but let me do the right thing. I want to avoid the situation, let me do the right thing. Say the honest truth. And unless you do that, you're going to just keep repeating that, and you're going to point outwardly for your own misery, but it's just you. All of it is you anyways. And the more quickly you realize that, the more quickly you'll be freed. You will feel free. Because then me reacting to you because you say something about me just means I'm an idiot. It just means I don't have myself under control. Like, if you think about it, isn't it a weak thing if anyone else can push your buttons, can make you feel a certain way, be it good or bad? Shouldn't that be under your own control?
Always. Easier said than done, though, bro.
That's what I'm saying. It's easier said than done.
So what's the best way to kind of deal with that? How do you build up that resilience? How do you become better at controlling your ability to have your buttons pushed?
Don't you know that that's the right thing to do? Would you say if I asked that question to someone, everyone would say, yes, that's right. That's a good skill to have.
Absolutely.
Everyone would say yes. The problem is the why. Why is it a good thing to have? I think most people don't know the magnitude of importance of being someone that is resilient when it comes to regulating yourself emotionally. You have to understand that dictates your life. That's the most important thing you can do in life. As long as I allow the external world, situations, places, and people dictate how I feel, I am allowing the world to tell me who I am.
And how you feel.
And how you feel. So if you ask anyone, do you think the world should dictate how you feel? Everyone would say no. Why not? Well, how about if the world can dictate how you feel? Where's your control?
Most people do let the world dictate how they feel. Most people are watching the news and then letting it affect the way that they feel about things.
And the problem is they're not aware of how that feeling is going to trickle down and affect all the areas of their life. People underestimate when they watch something about something that annoys them and they feel a certain way about it. They think it's just that for the moment, and they move on. And then later on, maybe they'll go have a coffee with their friend. They'll feel good again until the next news hit and they feel bad again. Until something else happens, they feel good again, right? The problem is what you're doing is emotionally speaking, you're sending a mixed signal out to the universe. If you and I agree to the fact that your dispositional emotional state is going to dictate how far you go in life and how the world around you looks, then being in a split emotional state where you're being played ping pong with creates a mixed signal. For you to have a life around you that reflects your inner state as within, so without, you have to first create an inner sense of peace and well-being before that can be reflected outwardly in your job, with your friends, in your professional life, and whatnot. And there's a verse in the Bible which is, you can't serve the two masters. You can't serve God and money at the same time. And really what it stands for metaphorically is you can't serve the spiritual self, the higher self, which is that I am in control, that I'm the one in charge, with the physical world. You cannot serve the physical world at the same time. Because if you let other people dictate how you feel, you're a servant, you're a slave to the physical world.
Okay, yes, control your emotions and make sure that you feel at peace as much as possible. But also, things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control the way that things happen.
No, you can't.
But you can control how you respond to them.
Absolutely.
So you're coming from a place of neutrality as much as possible.
Absolutely, exactly that.
Like
you can't. I mean, I think that's the most important thing in life. I believe that to be true, and I believe that everything.
That's just being.
Yes, that's just being and observing. And the fact that we're religious and we think and we believe in God and we're trying to improve ourselves spiritually and physically, I think all of it subconsciously comes down to the fact that it gives us a better chance to regulate ourselves emotionally. You know, think about it. If things happen in your life that suck, let's say you lose your job, and you're able to say it happened for a reason, and I know that God is on my side, and I know that this ultimately will lead me to a better life. What is that? That's emotional regulation.
Yeah.
That means otherwise I would be under distress, and now I'm less in distress and possibly even at peace when that happens because I believe, I have faith.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to do all the time, is avoiding the fact, if you're spiritual, you're trying to avoid the fact that life plays tennis with you. Bum, bum, bum. And that doesn't mean that around you there is not chaos. It just means that within you there is no chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You're serving the one master, not the two.
Yeah.
And the more you can do that, the more you will be mastering the world around you rather than the other way around. And it's a very freeing experience because you can absolutely not control what people say to you and what happens in the physical world, but you can absolutely control your reaction to it. And I think it's our responsibility to master that.
Yeah, totally agree, man. I love that. I was thinking about, because you say before about God being something that's outside of us, and to some degree, yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. He, they, she, whatever you want to call it. And I keep thinking about outsourcing, how in those given situations, having a belief in a higher power allows you to see the forest through the trees.
Right.
So it gives you the perspective, the widening of that perspective, so that you can be like, okay, this wasn't what I planned, but there must be some greater or grander thing to it that I'm just unable to see at this moment, which humbles you and keeps you patient and keeps you in check and makes sure that you don't just go, well, all right, well, fuck it, I'm going to go do whatever then. So that's like, it's the greatest emotional regulator of all. And then I was thinking like, oh, it's good that we like it. It's the source, but we're not outsourcing it. We're not sending it out to the world to figure it out. We're insourcing it. So it's within us to always find that place, to be able to go, okay, fair enough. Like, although what happens out here might feel like some kind of a falsity to me, what's inside is the truth.
And also, you need to realize that what's happening to you outwardly right now is a reflection of your previous internal state.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yesterday's news to that regard.
Yeah.
And once you realize that, you're going to accept the responsibility for what's happening around you right now. And you're able to say, you know what, the best chance I have right now is to change my internal state today so that the physical world reflected to be tomorrow is going to look differently. So when you have that faith, and faith, by the way, religious faith is the strongest predictor of long-term mental stability. Makes sense. I mean, think about it. Life is going to throw all kinds of stuff at you. If you're able to say, you know what, I'll be okay, that's a huge one, man.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a drug that would do that for you without side effects, everyone would take it. Well, the drug is God.
Mm-hmm. That's a banger.
Yeah. I really think and that once you start actually implementing that, you will also go through different levels of this internal type of transformation based on experiencing difficulties in the physical world. So for me in the beginning, it was shifting perspective, which is a very useful tool. So when life happens, actually, let's say you lose your job, one fairly easy way to do that is to say, oh, it happened for the better. If I look back at all the experiences that happened to me that were negative, let me now reflect and see how that actually played out positively in my life. And you do that with the same situation, it's going to take the edge off the negative emotion to begin with, right? But when I say there's a process in that, that's what I did in the beginning. And then from there, I just moved to observing my emotion rather than shifting the perspective. Because you can shift the perspective, it's positive, but it also is energy consuming. And you have to do that a lot to get yourself out of a very bad emotional state. And what I realize is there's another strategy to do that, which is what I'm doing more now, is just observing the negative emotion rather than changing the perspective internally to feel a certain way. Because that's almost using a certain level of force to change the emotional state. And I've noticed that every time I'm using force, I'm expending a lot of energy. And that the shortcut and the easiest way to just dissolve that emotion is to let it be and observe it. If you just observe it, knowing what that emotion means and why it's playing out, you can literally just let it be. But you are not it. You are the observer of it. And that is a very powerful tool to get through that emotion without using force. Experiencing it and then moving on.
If we were playing Street Fighter right now, you would have done up, down, left, right, A, B. That would have been the combo because that's a cheat code, what you just described. It's a cheat code. Psychiatrists use that with patients that have anxiety or, you know, similar types of conditions where they can't control their emotional state, and they have them. I think I told you this the other night. They have them sit in the corner of the room, and when the emotion arises, you place the emotion into the middle of the room where it's distance from you and you can observe it, and you give it a physical representation. You notice what color it is. So if you're angry, it might be red, or it might be spiky, or it might be, you know, you give it texture.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you watch it and you allow it to be without attaching yourself to it, but just allowing it. And then you almost talk to it. Oh, that's what you look like. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then you pilot and see, then you notice what the next emotion is. You allow that to transpire. You give it its color, its tone, its texture, shape, whatever else. You stack it on top of the other one. And eventually the feelings subside as you begin to kind of gather yourself again. And then you can banish everything.
That's an extremely good technique. So it's essentially just splitting into observer and feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an easy way to have that visual representation. Because the moment you split, the moment you look at an emotion, whether you want it or not, you're declaring that you're separate to that emotion. And when you're separate to it, you are not it.
Mm-hmm.
You may be experiencing it, but you are not it. Your true source of self is severed from that emotional state. So the moment that happens, you already are automatically going to feel a certain level of relief.
Yeah. Interesting for me, when I get angry, or I notice myself getting angry, I should say, it is often immediately followed by me laughing. Because I'll catch myself pissed off at something, or being like, I can't believe you just said that. And then I'll be like, oh, you're an idiot. You're just getting angry again. And then I'll laugh it off.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this kind of like counterbalance that happens that then kind of re-neutralizes me. So if I especially notice this when I'm reacting to something verbally, or if I'm angry at, usually, mate, it's something like, it is impatient kind of stuff. Like you mentioned last week, I get impatient with things on my computer, or if something's not loading quickly enough, or I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like click, 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 click. Like, come on, what's it? Why is the thing spinning? Pizza thing, like, come on, man. And then I'm just like, you're doing it again. I'm letting myself get stuck in the matrix.
Yes.
I'm getting caught in the pixels.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, snap out of that.
Yeah.
Go do something else. And as soon as you do, it's loaded.
Yeah. Well, also the thing is, emotions are the universal currency. So you, from a universal level, whatever you feel, that you are, that is true. And whatever you are internally must be reflected to you outwardly. So if you go to church on Sundays for those 2 hours and you're like, yeah, let's go, and it's good, and I feel good, I feel recharged, and the next moment you come home, you're like, why is this audio button not loading? You're sending a mixed signal internally. It's not a cohesive, energetic signature. It's one of peace for a moment, and then you go home like, shit, why did this person say this? Why did this thing happen again to my computer? So there is a level of responsibility for you knowing this to regulate that emotion, right? So just knowing the fact that what you're doing is you're neutralizing on an energy level the good you did before, because now it's experiencing this. So what's the universe going to pick up? It doesn't know what to pick up because you're not cohesive, you're not coherent. If you had the reality that you wanted, how would you feel and how would you react to that? If you could just ask that question every time that something happens that annoys you, if you can train yourself to do that, how would the version of me that I'm looking up to react in the situation? Mm-hmm. Bro, you're going to avoid like 9 out of 10 mistakes. But it's like getting that question in before you respond or react emotionally to something.
Yeah, and that's why it's good to have actually mentors or peers that you look up to, that even if you get caught in a situation that you can think, how would so-and-so react to this? Mm-hmm. If not your higher self, yeah, fair enough. Like, we can always get to that point. You were talking about emotion being the currency.
Yeah.
We say attention is the currency of the universe. Maybe emotions are the stock market of the universe then. Like that's where it is all playing out. And what you give your attention to is how you feel.
Correct. Yes, exactly. They belong together, right?
Yeah.
So your emotions are going to dictate where your attention goes, because your attention also goes out to reaffirm your dispositional emotional state. But at the same time also, again, where your attention goes dictates how you feel, because it picks up the bits and pieces out of the external world, right? So it's a two-way street. It's a feedback loop. If you feel good, your attention is going to go on to the things that you appreciate positively: beauty, kindness, and care. If you feel bad, what you see around you is the annoying stuff. It's the stuff that is fearful, the stuff that is disgusting. You see that stuff from a negative emotional state. And that's why it's so important, because your attention is like it's an assistant of your emotion, a handmaiden. Make sure to go find the bits and pieces that fit your emotional state, right? The other thing with emotions is they dictate whatever thoughts pop into your head. Think about it. When you're happy, like when you're in a high energy state, the thoughts that come up are thoughts of potential, things you can do, creativity, joy, love. When you're in a negative state, the thoughts that pop up are also associated with a negative emotional state. Oh, what is my boss going to think? Am I going to be able to maintain my relationship? Do I have enough money in my bank account? So your thoughts are clustering around your emotional state, be it positive or negative. And as long as you don't realize that your emotional state is not to be sought outwardly, but you actually can change those internally, then you will be stuck in trying to change effect with an effect, because the effect is on the external world. So now you're going into the external world and trying to seek validation, trying to get this girl, trying to make that much money to feel a certain way, but you got it the other way around. That's why the Buddhists say the external world is the world of illusion, Maya. So you're going to Maya, you're going to the world of illusion to feel a certain way. How that doesn't make any sense. And once you realize that you can give yourself those states internally, for me personally, I like to use meditation with imagination, where I play out a scenario that aligns with something that I want in life. Like you come and you congratulate me in my imagination. If I can feel that emotion within that imagination, it's going to create a positive emotional charge. If you do that often enough, you're giving yourself those emotional states independent of the external world. You're charging yourself. And you go into the source, because the source, the cause, the plane of cause is the internal world, and the external world is the plane of effect.
If Maya is the illusion, then isn't that the falsity that we are falling for all the time when we tell lies?
Yes, to bring it back to the lies, precisely. Because why do you tell lies? In order to orchestrate something around you, right? And the moment you realize that what you're actually doing is you're trying to manipulate the world of effect, the physical world.
Yeah, what's already there. Yeah. You have to realize that the truth is peel the veil back.
Correct.
That's back to the Matrix again, isn't it? It's like red pill, blue pill. You know, you want to stay in this land of like, it's all good. Everything is exactly how you see it. That's all you need to worry about. Mm-hmm. Keep trying to figure out stuff in this place. Or you can find out the truth, which is, you know, a little bit ugly, but at least it's real. At least you know exactly what it is. You want to take the red pill.
And it gives you a certain level of peace, of freedom.
Well, not if you're in the Matrix, it doesn't.
I just watched it, actually, Matrix 1 the other day.
It's a killer in the. You don't want to go into the. You don't want to take the red pill, do you? Yes, you do. Bro, argue that most people out there in the world are probably taking the blue pill and just going about the life. You've got to get off your ass. You got to be honest with yourself.
And sometimes getting to a situation where you hit rock bottom, or where you're in a very painful state, it gives you the chance to do that, right? Because if you start reflecting and you realize that this same thing keeps happening again in different form, masqueraded differently, then you have the choice to ask, like, why is that happening? And what is it that I need to integrate? What is it that I am feeling within, that I'm believing within, that I'm putting my attention on, that is causing that? Because all of those are aligned, right? Whatever you believe about the world is going to be true. It's going to be materialized, because your entire system, internal system, is set up in a way that confirms your belief. So if you believe the world to be an ugly place, you're going to have thoughts and ideas that reflect that. You're going to have thoughts about, oh, this person is out there to get me. So what is your attention going to do? It's going to go out there and find enough evidence to tell you that the world is out there to get me, where there's millions of different things to see and interpret. It's only going to see and integrate that part that confirms your belief system, right? And then when that happens in the physical world, when that person is shitty to you, how are you going to feel? Negative. So that's the negative emotional charge. And that negative emotional charge then, again, has thoughts and ideas coming up that align with that state. So the entire system is set up in a way to just confirm whatever it is you believe, and also whatever it is you feel.
Bro, who's trying to call me? Sorry about that. Just in the middle of a potty, bro. My bad. I don't know.
All good. Yeah, so be aware of what you believe is true. because it's going to be
because
true.
your brain's going to find reasons to corroborate with that.
Yes. And your life will
And again,
also,
then it's down to you to challenge what you believe is true.
for which you have to be honest. So that goes back
Correct.
to the fact that, when you lie to other people, you are going to lie to yourself. So what
Interesting. So that is it then.
that is it. Well, you have to be courageous enough to speak the truth to other
To
people.
everyone.
But before
To
you
everyone
speak,
and everything. How you do anything is how you do everything.
dude, as within, so without, out, as above, so below. So
if you're telling yourself little lies, then those little lies, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
that's it, man. That's exactly it.
Put a little bit of auto-tune on that.
Yep. Yep.
Dude, that's so true though.
Yeah,
that's so true.
It is.
Yeah, and your long-term happiness is dependent on how real you are with yourself.
At least your long-term level of self-respect, I would argue.
Which has to be correlated to
It
your
is.
long-term happiness.
Yeah. So
because everything
the reason
comes,
I'm
all the keywords: self-respect, self-discipline.
Yes. Well, and the reason I'm just avoiding happiness is because people might think of happiness as this place of absolute ecstasy and joy, where really it comes down to feeling a certain level of balance and peace.
Mm-hmm.
And so that level of, when you speak the truth to yourself, and then ultimately also to other people as a result of speaking it to yourself first, you will have a certain level of self-respect, and that self-respect is going to give you a certain level of peace and freedom and more ease in life as well. And that in itself is going to translate to a happier life. Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
There's no way around that.
Slaps, bro.
Slaps.